Ever feel like you're just drowning in information, trying to figure out what's actually, important? It's a real challenge. So here, that's what we do. We try to cut through all that noise in our deep dives. We want to distill things down so you can get genuinely well-informed, fast. Today, we're diving into something super practical: usability and user experience, UX. And we're coming at it from maybe a slightly different angle. We've got excerpts from something called the CTUT exam, Usability Principles and Practice Questions. It's like a mock test for this field. And we're going to unpack the core ideas hidden in these, well, seemingly simple questions.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It might look like an exam on the surface, but honestly, the principles in there are gold for anyone building products or, anyone just curious about how great user experiences get made. Our goal isn't just about finding the right answer. It's about getting to the why. Why does this actually matter? What's the real takeaway?
Okay, and just for context, this exam usually has about 40 questions. You get 60 minutes. Maybe a bit more if English isn't your native language. You need 26 points out of 40 to pass. But really, for us, those numbers are just a jumping off point. They're our way into exploring these really key UX ideas. All right, let's kick things off. Let's talk about user surveys, designing good ones. When you really want useful feedback, what's that crucial first step people often miss? It's not just writing questions down, is it?
No. Definitely not. The best way, the really effective way, starts much earlier. It's about clearly defining your survey's goals. Like, what do you actually need to know? And then knowing exactly who you need to ask your target audience. Then you structure the questions, make them objective, super clear, unambiguous. And the why here is, well, it's fundamental. Without those clear goals, or if you ask the wrong people, your feedback isn't just messy, it could be totally misleading. It becomes so hard to interpret. It's the difference between just collecting stuff and strategically gathering insights you can actually use. Think about the opposite, just throwing a survey out there, maybe with only vague, open-ended questions. How do you even begin to make sense of that kind of data dump? It's almost impossible.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's about focus. And like you said, it's not just for formal surveys, right?
Yeah.
These ideas help anytime you need good info. Asking colleagues, figuring out project needs. It applies broadly. Okay, so let's shift from surveys to actually watching users. Getting ready for a usability test. There's a step called a pilot test.
Yeah.
What's that all about? What's its purpose?
Ugh, the pilot test. Think of it as like a dress rehearsal, but a cheap one. It's a small-scale trial run you absolutely do before the main event, before your real test sessions. Its main job is to find the problems in your test plan, not just the product yet. Are the tasks clear? Does the tech work? Is the script awkward? Does the camera get in the way? You find out if your brilliant task actually confuses everyone, or if the recording setup is distracting. Fixing that stuff during a pilot test is way, way cheaper and less stressful than finding out mid-study with real participants. So zooming out, it saves huge amounts of time, money, and potential headaches. It ensures your test is usable.
Okay, so it's like quality control for the test itself. Makes sense. You don't want your own process messing up the results. So now let's get into the testing itself. Let's say a moderator tells a participant, find product X on the website and add it to your cart. What is that instruction? What does it represent in the test?
Right. That's a perfect example of a usability test task. It's a specific mission, a concrete instruction you give the participant. It's not just look around the site. It's very targeted, like find this specific thing or complete this specific action. These tasks are the core components of the test. They let you observe exactly where users succeed or struggle. Real, concrete data points.
Okay, a specific task. And doing these tasks often requires a specific kind of environment, especially for lab tests. What's generally seen as the best setup for a controlled, lab-based usability test.
Yeah, the classic setup is usually a dedicated room. Quiet, controlled. Often you'll have a one-way mirror so observers can watch without being intrusive. Video recording is pretty standard too. The whole point is minimizing distractions. You want control conditions so you can be confident the results reflect the product's usability, not, random interruptions. And this raises a really important point. The environment itself directly impacts your data quality. If someone's distracted or they feel watched and uncomfortable, their behavior changes. You need that neutral space where the focus is purely on the interaction between the user and the product.
Makes sense. Control the variables you can.
Yeah.
But what if you can't do that kind of traditional testing? Maybe the deadline's crazy tight, or you literally can't get access to real users for legal reasons or something. This is where I think something called heuristic evaluations come in. We have a couple of scenarios here.
Exactly. Heuristic evaluations are super useful, especially in those tricky situations. So, scenario one. A team's got a new app, no user access, maybe legal holdups, and the clock is ticking. A heuristic evaluation is perfect. You get usability experts, maybe just one or two, to review the interface against established usability principles. Things like Nielsen's heuristics are common. It's like having usability veterans inspect your design based on known best practices and common pitfalls. It lets you leverage years of collective knowledge about what generally works and what doesn't. It's a quick way to find potential red flags.
Okay, so experts use principles when users aren't available. What's the other scenario?
Right. Scenario 2. You're really early in development. Maybe you just have some basic wireframes, low fidelity stuff. Getting users for that might be overkill or just not practical yet. Again, heuristic evaluation is a great fit. Experts can spot potential structural issues, navigation problems, inconsistencies, things that violate core principles. They can catch these issues before you invest a ton of time building out detailed designs or writing code. So the common thread. Heuristic evaluations are fantastic for finding potential problems early, efficiently, and especially when direct user testing isn't feasible. They're about proactive problem finding.
Got it. So it's a versatile tool, really useful early on or when users are hard to reach, a way to leverage expert knowledge efficiently. Okay, let's shift gears a bit to interpreting results and some broader ideas. There's a method called rapid iterative testing and evaluation. What's the deal with that?
RITA. Yeah, it's less a single method and more of an approach, a philosophy almost. It really clicks with agile ways of working. The core idea is speed and iteration, very short cycles. You test with a few users, find a problem, maybe a really obvious one, you fix it immediately, and then you test again, maybe even the next day, to see if the fix worked. It's test, find, fix, retest. Super fast loops. And here's where it gets, well, really powerful. It fosters this culture of continuous improvement. We're not waiting weeks for a big report. You're learning and adapting constantly. It means you have to be okay with testing something imperfect and fixing on the fly. The challenge, of course, is having a team that can actually implement those fixes that quickly without breaking everything else. It needs tight collaboration.
Wow, that sounds intense but effective. Relentless improvement. Now, speaking of interpreting results, let's talk metrics. Bounce rate. Super common web metric. If a website has a high bounce rate, does that automatically mean its usability is poor?
No, absolutely not. That's a classic trap. A high bounce rate needs context, always. Think about it. If you Google a specific fact, click a link, find the fact on the page, and then leave. That's a bounce. Did the page fail? No. It succeeded perfectly. You got what you needed and left. Same for, say, reading a single news article or blog post. You read it, you're done, you leave. High bounce rate, potentially perfect user experience for that specific goal. So you have to ask, what's the purpose of this page? What was the user trying to do? Was the content relevant? Looking at bounce rate alone without that context can lead you way off track. It's just one piece of a much bigger puzzle.
Right. Context is king. The why behind the number, again. So once you have these findings, these insights, maybe from testing, maybe from metrics, how do you best communicate them? Specifically to developers, the people who need to make the changes. What makes a usability report actually get used?
Yeah, this is critical. It's often less about what you found and more about how you present it. The most effective reports are focused. They don't list every single tiny issue. They prioritize. Here are the top 3, maybe top 5 critical problems that are causing the most user pain or business impact. And crucially, they offer clear, actionable recommendations, not just this is broken, but here's the problem, here's why it's bad, and here's a suggestion for how to fix it. Developers are busy. They need clarity, priority, and ideally, a suggested path forward. Avoid huge, overwhelming documents. Avoid overly negative language or tons of jargon. Frame it collaboratively. We observed this issue. It impacts users like this. Perhaps you could try X. That goes a long way.
So keep it focused, prioritized, actionable, and constructive. Makes sense. Don't just dump problems on them. Okay, let's wrap up the core stuff with a really important, broader concept. Accessibility. In software. On the web. What's the best way to define accessibility?
Accessibility, fundamentally, is about designing products and services so that people with disabilities can use them. But it goes deeper. It's about ensuring everyone, regardless of their abilities or limitations, can perceive, understand, navigate, and interact with your product effectively. Can someone using a screen reader understand your content? Can someone who can't use a mouse navigate your site? Can someone with low vision read your text? Connecting this to the bigger picture, it's not just a nice to have or a compliance checkbox. It's an ethical imperative for inclusion. And honestly, it's also just good design. Accessible design often benefits everyone, making things clearer and easier to use across the board. It expands your audience, too. It's vital. Think about these principles we've discussed. careful observation, testing assumptions, iterating, designing inclusively. How might this apply beyond just websites or apps? Think about processes at work, systems in your community, even just how you communicate. Can you use this lens of usability, of iteration, of accessibility to make things better in other parts of your life? Something to chew on.
That's a great challenge, applying UX thinking everywhere. We really hope you enjoyed this deep dive. Lots to think about. Join us next time as we continue exploring and learning together. Thanks for listening.